Okay, with Cisco with Kyle, we're going to be going over how to delete VLANs. This can happen when organizational changes and certain departments are kind of moving into one, and we need to reduce the VLANs. So this is how we're going to do it. So using the BOSIN simulator, let's look at through the command line with our lab how we would do that. So this is what the topology looks like. Here's the interfaces that we're going to be using. And essentially how to delete a VLAN, you just put the no in front of the VLAN and then the number. So just to show some examples of how we're going to do that, we're going to first add some IP addresses to the switches. So we're in switch 1 here. I'm going to go into enable. Then we're going to go into config T. And essentially, we're going to go into interface. If we back out of this, let's take a look at what we have. So if we go into show VLAN brief, see that we have one VLAN. Okay. Oh, no, sorry, we have more than one VLAN. We got VLAN 10, VLAN 100. In this lab, we're going to be deleting those two. We can see that there's some ports attached to VLAN 10, so you'll see how we're going to move those ports over into the other VLAN. So let's go into the other thing that you should look at too is show what should we say? Show interface question mark status is a good one I like to use. As the reason why I like this one is because I can see the ports, what VLANs are attached to. So I can write those down. So 2, 3, 4, we need to move them to VLAN 1. As you can see here, it says remove VLANs 10 and 100 from switch 1. The one thing that you will note, though, is if we go, the instructions say add the appropriate IP address and subnet mask for the interface. So their switches are layer 2. So layer 2 is stuff to do with like MAC address, where layer 3 has to do with IP addresses. Because switches are layer 2, you can't configure an IP address on it. So what you do is you can associate an IP address on a VLAN. So how we do that is we go into config, and then we go into interface VLAN 1, and then we can apply an IP address to it. Why you're adding an IP address to the switch is just a way in how to ping the switch. And in this case, we have two switches. So here we have in our lab topology here, switch 1 is going to be 192.168.100.101. And the subnet mask, and switch 2 to enable config E, and we're going to interface VLAN 1, and we're going to go on IP address 192.168.100.102. And why is it saying that? Because you didn't add the subnet mask. Now that's in there. So now if we go into exit and we go exit out of it, so we can show VLAN. Let's go show interfaces. Show IP interface brief. Let's see. Show the yeah, it is. So it shows now that VLAN has that IP address. Okay, so let's go hop over to remove VLANs 10 and 100 from switch 1. So how you would do this is that you would say no VLAN 10, no VLAN 10, no VLAN 100. Okay. And then what you need to do is because if you see, and if we look at the answers here, if you see here ports, fast Ethernet ports 02, 03, and 04, we're on 10. We now have to go into each interface and put them into VLAN 1. I'll show you how to do that here. So what we're going to do is go into fast. We're going to go interface fast Ethernet 0/2. Now we're into it. Now we got to go switch port. The commands are up here. You can see it says switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 1. Done. Now if we go back out of here, and we go show you can see now that we have now F02, but you see how 3 and 4 are still missing. We're gonna get those in there. So let's just use some commands we've already used. B and C, interface range. This will work. I haven't used this for a little while. If you don't use it, you lose it, they say. Yeah. Interface range. I'll add the command in the description on how to do interface range. Right now, it's not coming to me. So interface range, and then we're going to go switch port. Switch port mode, access, VLAN 1. Boom. And then let's go to the fourth one and do the same thing. So now if we go to exit, go show interface, show interface, VLAN, C, show interfaces, show VLAN. See now that we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now all in the default VLAN 1. So let's take a look at the lab solution of kind of what it's supposed to look like. So as you can see, we did this interface VLAN 1. Essentially what this is saying here is that the catalyst, this is the brand name of the Cisco switch, is a layer 2. So you in a layer 2, you can't use the same routing functions as you could in a router. So you by getting around it, you use a VLAN. See, it says here layer 2 switches can only have one active VLAN interface. An active VLAN interface has an IP address configured on it and is an upstate. The active VLAN interface is a management VLAN by default. VLAN 1 is the interface. It is the management interface. So let's see here. What else do they have? So as you can see here, we showed this. We added this VLAN with a management interface here with this IP address, and it shows here what we did here. No VLAN 10, no VLAN 100, and then as you can see here, what we did here is we added the we switched the interfaces 02, 03, 04 from VLAN 10, 100. Because we deleted them, we had to move them back into the VLAN 1. And as you can see now that the final line here, show VLAN brief, you can see that now all the ports are back into the default VLAN. Just a side note, for security purposes, all organizations should not have their default VLAN 1. For attacking purposes, it's kind of like setting up a password that is just 1, 2, 3, 4. that comes from the factory when you come to set up a device. All attackers know that out of the box that networking devices, routers, switches, for example, or switches, are default to VLAN 1. So it's best to hide this as much as possible so that they just don't have to guess 1. So change that to a different number, the native VLAN, and change it to like 10, 105, 106, 2001, right? So that's it. That's Cisco with Kyle, and hopefully that was helpful.